Good morning. Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh, coming up in the next hour. New Delhi all set to host second India-Arab foreign ministers meeting, aims to deepen cooperation on key global issues. UN Chief Guterres lauds India-EU trade agreement, calls for stronger multipolar world, says a lot of positive expectations from mother of all deals. Trump hints at Iran's decision to make a deal as US armada larger than Venezuela's heading towards Tehran. US Justice Department releases new and final cache of millions of pages related to late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. And in sports, Ariana Sabalenka and Elena Rybakina set to clash in a high-octane women's singles final at the Australian Open today. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Friday held conversation with acting President of Venezuela, Delcy Rodriguez, during which the leaders discussed ways to strengthen bilateral ties. The two leaders agreed to further expand and deepen India-Venezuela partnership in all areas, including trade and investment, energy, digital technology, health, agriculture, and people-to-people ties. Both leaders exchanged views on various regional and global issues of mutual interest and underscored the importance of their close cooperation for the Global South. The two leaders agreed to remain in touch. India is going to host the second India-Arab foreign ministers meeting in New Delhi on Saturday, co-chaired by India and the UAE. Foreign ministers from Arab League countries and the League Secretary General are participating in this high-level dialogue. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar held bilateral talks with several Arab counterparts on Friday.
India is hosting the second India-Arab foreign ministers meeting in New Delhi on Saturday, co-chaired by India and the UAE. Foreign ministers of Arab League member states and the Arab League Secretary General are taking part in this meeting. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar held a series of bilateral meetings with Arab counterparts, including Arab League Secretary General Ahmed Abul Gheit. He met foreign ministers from Comoros, Palestine, Libya, and Sudan, discussing cooperation in trade, energy, infrastructure, health, and regional issues, including Gaza and Sudan. Sudanese Foreign Minister Moheldin Salim Ahmed Ibrahim said India has had a long-standing presence in Sudan and that both countries are now looking to expand partnerships.
India is already there with Sudan, but in this new era, I think we are looking forward for more partnerships in so many areas, in agriculture, in mining, in transportation, in technology, in every sector of the life. And I think there are good opportunities for investment for our friends from India.
Ministers and delegates from the 22-member Arab League, including representatives from Qatar and Somalia, have gathered in New Delhi for the meeting. The foreign ministers' meeting is being held after a gap of 10 years, following the first meeting in Bahrain in 2016. The second meeting is expected to strengthen and expand cooperation across key sectors between India and Arab nations. Bureau Report, DD India.
Minister of State at the UAE Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Khalifa Shaheen Al Marar, arrived in Delhi on Saturday for India-Arab foreign ministers meeting. His visit further strengthens comprehensive strategic partnership between India and the UAE. Moving on, UN Chief Antonio Guterres cited the free trade agreement between India and the EU as they underline the need to support multipolarity, emphasizing that global problems will not be solved by one power calling all the shots. Antonio Guterres said on Thursday he sees a lot of positive expectations from the recent free trade agreement between India and the European Union.
recent trade agreements, EU with India. So it is this network in trade, this network in technology, this network in international cooperation among a progressively larger group of countries and entities in a true multipolar world that, in my opinion, can create the conditions for strong multilateral institutions and for a world in which the values that are the values of the Charter of the United Nations can prevail.
On Tuesday, India and the EU announced the free trade agreement, which EU President Ursula von der Leyen called the mother of all trade deals. Guterres emphasized global structures and institutions must reflect the complexity and opportunity of new times and realities, where the share of global economic activity by the traditional group of developed economies is receding and emerging economies are expanding in scale, influence, and confidence. February will see India at the center of the global AI conversation as world leaders and top experts gather for the AI Impact Summit, spotlighting sovereign models, innovation, and India's fast-growing AI ecosystem. Tripti Tripathi deep dives into what the summit has in store.
India is set to host its biggest ever global AI gathering in February, with the India AI Impact Summit bringing together over 15 heads of state and government. Union Minister Ashwini Vaishnav launched the Impact Agenda, leadership reflections capturing insights from more than 60 industry leaders, focused on inclusive growth, innovation, and societal impact. Minister Vaishnav said India has built its own AI ecosystem in a systematic manner, positioning the country as a key global AI player.
The summit has got phenomenal response. This is going to be the fourth and the biggest AI summit so far in the entire world. The response from practically 100 countries, the number of heads of state and government, already 15 confirmations received, and the industry has responded so well. More than 100 CEOs are joining us in the Impact Summit.
Artificial intelligence remains a top government priority. Prime Minister recently interacted with CEOs and experts working on sovereign AI models designed to accelerate India's AI mission. Minister Vaishnav said these India-developed sovereign AI models will be unveiled at the summit. The summit is anchored on 3 pillars: people, planet, and progress, with 7 key themes, including AI for economic growth and social good, democratizing AI access, inclusion, safe and trusted AI, human capital, science, and resilience and innovation. Indian companies have developed over 200 small language models tailored for diverse sectors. India has also already attracted $70 billion in AI investments, a figure expected to double.
The world is taking note of our common compute facility in a very big way. This is a democratization of technology approach which our Prime Minister has very clearly propagated in the last 11 years, whether it is UPI, whether it is DigiLocker, whether it is CoWIN, whether it is 5G rollout. All these programs basically showcase the philosophy of democratization of technology, and the common compute is part of that.
As the first global AI summit in the Global South, the summit highlights the need for aligned AI governance and standards.
One of the key objectives which we are attempting through the Impact Summit, the very fact that it is hosted in the Global South and will have significant participation from those countries, is important. The other element is, of course, the development of various solutions and applications in India and how they can be offered to the rest of the world. The potential for India to emerge as the capital for AI applications is something that we have spoken of for some time, and that's clearly how we can actually do it.
With 500 plus sessions, the summit is expected to catalyze India's AI Mission 2.0 and also examine the impact of artificial intelligence on society at large and ways to use AI for societal good. Tripti Tripathi's report for DD India.
Union Railway Minister Ashwini Vaishnav shared details of discussions with France on railway cooperation. In a post on X, Minister said opportunities for upskilling railway staff were discussed with France. He noted that India and France share a long history of cooperation in the railway sector. The talks with French Transport Minister Philippe Tabarot focused on maintenance, cleaning and quality in manufacturing. In other stories, Whisk Aero unveiled the world's first fully autonomous four-seater aircraft at Wings India 2026. The pilotless electric vertical takeoff and landing is designed for short urban trips, offering safer, quieter and eco-friendly travel. The aircraft completed its first successful flight in December last year and aims for future operations in the country. Here's more.
A glimpse into the future of urban air mobility took center stage at Wings India 2026 in Hyderabad, where Whisk Aero, a Boeing subsidiary, unveiled what it calls the world's first fully autonomous four-seater passenger aircraft. Designed for short-haul trips, the pilotless electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft promises quieter, safer and more sustainable mobility. The sixth-generation model marks the culmination of over 15 years of research, drawing on lessons from earlier prototypes to bring urban air mobility closer to reality. The aircraft marked a key milestone with its first successful flight on December 16th last year. Whisk Aero hopes to certify and operate the aircraft in the United States soon, while seeing India's aviation landscape as a promising destination for autonomous air services in the years ahead. Whisk Aero gave visitors a glimpse into the future at Wings India 2026, with simulators showcasing next-generation flight and the company's potential in advanced air mobility.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. Russia-Ukraine halt energy strikes, but differences emerge on moratorium. Protests erupt in San Francisco against ICE operations. And deadly landslide strikes mining site in Congo.
Can the US launch a bombing campaign against Iran? The Philippines vessel suffered structural damage. The saga of child sexual abuse is the United States China's debt trap strategy. Truth is stranger than fiction. But sometimes hard to uncover. Trust us to tell the truth, unadulterated and pure, of every story that matters to you.
Exactly what to save your.
You read between the lines, cut the clutter, and connect the dots to get you the full picture. Watch Connecting the Dots at these times with me, only on DD India.
Welcome to DD India, where a billion voices unite, connecting viewers to the stories that matter. India is not just another news channel. It's the international channel that puts the spotlight on the global south, bringing you stories from the heart of emerging economies, dynamic cultures, and transformative voices. As the international news channel of India's public broadcaster Prasar Bharati, DD India delivers high-quality content from every corner of the globe, focusing on the stories that shape our future. We don't just report news. We connect you to India's voice in the global narrative. From current affairs to culture, from economic growth to sustainable development, and the ever-evolving world order, DD India gives you a comprehensive view of the world around us. Stay connected, stay informed, and embrace the stories that shape our lives. DD India. India's voice to the world.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. US President Donald Trump on Friday said that Iran wants to make a deal rather than face American military action, despite Tehran warning that its arsenal of missiles would never be up for discussion. President Trump has warned Iran to return to negotiations over its nuclear program or face far harsher American action. Trump had warned of possible military action if protesters were killed during anti-government protests that began in late December last year and reached their peak on January 8th and 9th. Trump also added that an armada larger than Venezuela's is on its way towards Iran.
No, we'll see how it all works out. You know, they have to float someplace. They might as well float near Iran. But it's a rough situation going on. So I stopped 837 people, as you know, last week from being hung. They were going to hang 830. It was all set. And I mean, I'm looking at the people behind me. They're saying, "What kind of racing's a lot nicer than that?" They were going to hang 837 people, and I told them, if you do it, you're going to pay a price like nobody's ever paid before. They pulled back. I appreciated that. But a lot of people are being killed, so we'll see what happens. I can say this: they do want to make. We have a large armada, flotilla. You can call it whatever you want, heading toward Iran right now, even larger than what we had in Venezuela. It's still in front of Venezuela. The Venezuelan situation, the leadership is doing a very good job. We're very happy, and we're getting along very, very well.
The U.S. Armada, as Trump has described it, continues to position itself near Iran's waters, led by USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier. The U.S. Navy destroyer has docked at the Israeli port of Eilat, citing the military as tensions between Washington and Iran escalate. The deployment comes as Trump signaled he was open to talks with Iran, even as Washington dispatched additional military assets to the West Asia. In response, Iranian authorities have signaled that they are ready to defend their country as the United States continues to threaten a military strike. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi on Friday said that Iran is ready to resume fair and equitable talks with the United States, warning that Tehran's missile program cannot be on the table.
If the negotiations are conducted in a fair and equitable manner, the Islamic Republic of Iran is ready to take part in these talks and in such negotiations. Iran welcomes and is ready to participate in any form of dialogue between regional countries that is aimed at creating peace, reducing tensions, and strengthening stability in the region, and we are ready to take part in them.
Earlier, Araghchi met with his Turkish counterpart Hakan Fidan in Istanbul on Friday, where the leaders discussed the escalating tensions amid the ongoing US threats and military buildup in the region. However, Araghchi said no meetings have been yet arranged between Tehran and Washington to resolve decades-long nuclear dispute. The United States on Friday imposed sanctions on Iranian Interior Minister Eskandar Momeni and businessmen it said helped launder money for Tehran. The Department of Treasury announcing the move said Momeni was responsible for a brutal security crackdown in Iran this month as he oversaw law enforcement forces, said was responsible for the deaths of thousands of peaceful protesters. Earlier, the European Union designated Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps as a terrorist organization, a move strongly condemned by Iran. EU High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, Kaja Kallas, said foreign ministers of the EU have taken the decisive step of designated Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps as a terrorist organization. In a press release issued on the same day, the Council of the EU said it decided to impose restrictive measures on 15 Iranian officials and 6 entities. With the latest decision, EU's restrictive measures now apply to 247 individuals and 50 entities. The measures include asset freeze, travel bans to the EU, and a prohibition on making funds or economic resources available to those listed. Indeed, India correspondent Akhilesh Suman is joining me now live for more. Akhilesh, tensions are deepening between Iran and the West. There is a military build-up by the US and sanctions by Europe. What are the possibilities ahead?
It seems that Donald Trump has a plan. And as Americans say that they don't have just one plan, they have plan A, plan B, plan C. So Donald Trump is, I think, trying on all the plans. And he's putting pressure as a plan A, but he might be having plan B and plan C also, like he did in Venezuela earlier. Like he did, he offered, Venezuelan, the then president, to leave the country and leave the space of Venezuela for different situation. But it did not happen. Then he had a plan B, and now he is implementing plan C as interim president of Venezuela is helping, Donald Trump to do whatever he wants in Venezuela. So in that situation, the experts whom I am talking, the same thing, Donald Trump is having different plans. And one of the most striking thing, Subhendu, is that he is very much in touch with Vladimir Putin. And Ali Larijani, who is the Supreme National Security Advisor of Iran, he has met Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin has offered to mediate between Iran and USA. So I think this is one of the major things that has happened in last 2-3 days, that Putin is coming in between. And, Putin is the only world leader with whom, Donald Trump is in a regular touch on various issues. And if he's in touch with, Putin, on this issue also, it seems to have some sort of maybe space for Iran. Whether Iran will be able to use this situation, it is a billion-dollar question, because Iran is also a proud country. Iran wants to secure its sovereignty and its national pride. And as Pentagon sources are telling that, there are three things that Iran has to do, because they want Iran to be virtually incapable of any external war, like leaving the nuclear option at all, zero nuclear enrichment, and remove all the enriched nuclear materials from Iran. And the fourth thing, that there should be no long-range missiles, ballistic missiles in possession of Iran. So I think that is why Iran is quite, disturbed, because if he leaves the, missile program also, it will be incapable, and that is why Foreign Minister is telling that missile program is non-negotiable. But how it takes place in coming days, how, Vladimir Putin, if he comes forward to mediate between Iran and USA, it will be interesting to see that what is the solution of this complex situation, because everyone in the world is feeling that if Iran and US comes under attack over each other, it will be a very disturbing situation in the whole Middle East and for the whole world. So let us see that how Putin acts on this situation, whether he talks to Trump and whether Trump give an ear to Putin. Yeah.
Right. The situation in the Middle East, West Asia, has been quite volatile in the recent years. Akhilesh, how are the stakeholders in the region responding to these deepening tensions? You mentioned about Russia. What about the other stakeholders in the region trying to diffuse these tensions?
As you know that Turkey is one of the major players in the whole region, and Turkey has said that there should be no war, there should be no attack on Iran. And Turkey used to converse with USA on various issues. Yesterday, Foreign Minister of Turkey has, made an appeal that there should be no attack from your side on Iran. So Turkey had made its position clear that dialogue and diplomacy should take the front stage. On the other side, that UAE also has said that it will not allow the airspace for any attack against Iran. So every, stakeholder in the region is quite disturbed. But that if such situation arises, it will be very difficult to control the, spread of conflict in the whole region. And this whole region is quite sensitive for everyone in the world, because, most of the oil resources are situated here. Most of the gas resources are situated here. So everyone is trying that, there should be no confrontation between Iran, no bloody confrontation between Iran and USA at this point, in this point of time. So everyone is, posted on this. Everyone is trying to use their diplomatic, strength to persuade both Iran and US that they should come on the dialogue table and they should talk so that there should be no escalation in the whole region. So,
Akhilesh, thank you for joining us with those inputs. And Syrian government and Kurdish forces declared a ceasefire deal on Friday that sets out a phased integration of the Kurdish fighters into the state, averting a potentially bloody battle and drawing US praise for a historic milestone. The sides announced the agreement after government forces under President Ahmad al-Shara captured swaths of northern and eastern Syria from the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces group this month, forcing the Kurdish forces to retreat into shrinking enclave in the northeast. US envoy Tom Barrack, who has been closely involved in mediation efforts, declared the agreement a profound and historic milestone in Syria's journey towards national reconciliation, unity and enduring stability. In the latest in the Russia-Ukraine conflict, both countries said Friday had halted strikes on each other's energy infrastructure, but differences emerged over the time frame for the moratorium, and there was uncertainty about the next step in talks to end the nearly 4-year-old conflict. The Kremlin said it had agreed to US President Trump's request to halt strikes on energy targets on Kiev until February 1st to create favorable conditions for peace talks. Trump had said he asked Putin to halt strikes on the Ukrainian capital and the surrounding area due to extreme cold weather. Meanwhile, Putin's special envoy, Kirill Dmitriev, will travel to Miami on Saturday for meeting with members of US President Donald Trump's administration. While Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Russia had conducted virtually no strikes in the past 24 hours, though he and Ukrainian Prime Minister Yulia Svyrydenko said Moscow had reoriented its strategy and were now hitting logistical points, notably rail junctions.
In all of our region, from Thursday night into Friday, there were indeed no strike on energy infrastructure, almost none. The exception was Donetsk region, where there was one strike on gas infrastructure, an aerial bomb attack. We also now see Russia reorienting its attack toward logistic and key transport hubs. Importantly, our railway workers continue operating and ensuring connection to all regions.
Meanwhile, speaking to reporters in the Oval Office, US President Donald Trump said he believes the deal is close to end Russia's conflict against Ukraine, as he indeed makes a personal request to President Putin to refrain from striking Kiev for a week until February 1st in order to create favorable conditions for negotiations. On to some other stories. The US Justice Department on Friday published a new and final cache of millions of documents related to the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein under a law passed in November that requires the release of all Epstein-related records. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche said at a press conference that Friday's batch of files marked the end of the Trump administration's planned releases under the law. The new cache includes more than 3 million pages, 2,000 videos, and 180,000 images. The files include extensive redactions, including identifying information of victims of materials related to active investigations. Previous releases have been heavily redacted, drawing criticism from some members of the Congress. Trump has not been formally accused of any wrongdoing in connection with Epstein. He has denied any knowledge of Epstein's crimes, but the scandal has dogged him for months, in part because he promised to release the files during his 2024 presidential campaign. The Justice Department will provide Congress a report that includes summary of all redactions and withheld documents as required under the law, Blanche said in a letter sent to the Congress on Friday. Protests erupted in San Francisco on Friday against U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement (ICE) as public anger grows over the recent enforcement actions. Demonstrators in San Francisco gathered to oppose the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement as they waved placards and shouted slogans, "ICE breaks laws, not just families," and "Abolish ICE." The protests follow fatal shooting of citizens Alex Petty on January 24th and Rennie Good on January 7th during immigration and customs enforcement operations in Minneapolis, which have intensified nationwide outrage. Under a national immigration crackdown, President Trump has deployed 3,000 federal officers to the Minneapolis area, where they are patrolling streets in tactical gear. Tensions soar in South China Sea. China conducted naval and air patrols around the Scarborough Shoal in South China Sea on Saturday. The shoal is Philippines' exclusive economic zone, but China also claims it as part of its territory. China has stepped up combat readiness patrols in the area in January, resolutely countering the infringement provocations of individual countries within the region. The militaries of Philippines and United States carried out joint exercises in Scarborough Shoal area earlier this week, in the 11th such drill since November 2023, Manila's armed forces informed on Tuesday. A series of landslides struck a militia-held mine in Democratic Republic of Congo, burying people alive and killing several. Dozens of scavengers were still shoveling away at the vast site on Friday. Since its resurgence in 2021, the M23 group has taken vast tracts of the DRC's resource-rich east, capturing the Rubaya mine in North Kivu province in April 2024 with Rwanda's help. According to the United Nations experts, the M23 has set up an administration parallel to the Congolese state to regulate the operations of the mine since its capture. Let's now take a look at other stories making news around the world. London's British Museum will open a major exhibition on 3rd February tracing the evolution of samurai over the past 1,000 years. Titled Samurai, the show features 280 objects, including historic armor. The exhibition runs until 4th May. China's Pop Mart, maker of the popular Labubu dolls, has chosen London as its new regional headquarters and announced plans to open 7 more stores across the UK. The move was revealed during British Prime Minister Keir Starmer's visit to China, aimed at boosting economic ties and investment. Argentine chefs marked the croissant day with a unique local twist. The Buenos Aires cafes reimagined the classic pastry using flavors inspired by Argentina's barbecue culture. The creation blends French technique with traditional Argentine taste. Vietnam has entered the global fashion spotlight as designer Phawi made history at Paris Haute Couture Week, becoming both the first Vietnamese and the youngest designer to showcase at the event. His off-schedule July collection reimagined rural Vietnamese lives through luxury fashion, transforming everyday materials such as fishing nets and banana leaves into bold couture pieces, including sculptural fans and straw boots. And we're heading for a short break. There's more coming up. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Our top stories at this hour. New Delhi all set to host second India-Arab foreign ministers meeting, aims to deepen cooperation on key global issues. UN Chief Guterres lauds India-EU trade agreement, calls for stronger multipolar world, says a lot of positive expectations from mother of all deals. Trump hints at Iran's decision to make a deal as US armada larger than Venezuela's heading towards Tehran. US Justice Department releases new final cache of millions of pages related to late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. In sports, Ariana Sabalenka and Elena Rybakina set to clash in high-octane women's singles final at the Australian Open today. Let's now track some updates in the upcoming Union Budget 2026. With Budget 2026 approaching, focus is on simpler taxation and wider tax base. Previous budgets have focused heavily on reducing direct taxes for individuals and corporations to boost disposable income, consumption and corporate investment.
Budget 2026 is expected to send a strong message with bold, people-centric tax reforms. The focus is likely to be on a simpler taxation, a wider tax base and stronger trust, using fiscal policy to boost growth, consumption and investment. Personal taxpayers are hoping for meaningful relief. On indirect taxes, GST reforms remain central. Industry expects rate rationalization, simplified tax structures, fast input tax credit refunds and incentives for long-term investments. For corporates, the demand is clear: stability and predictability in tax policy.
The government should stabilize the tax structures so that it is very crystal clear to everybody. There is just 0 to 1 option, which should be it should be in binary. The capital gain, which is taxable, that is kind of stopping lots of investors to invest in a startup. So that should be freed for some more time.
The BFI sector's expectations from the budget are largely about system strength, how well financial intermediaries can mobilize savings and transmit credit efficiently. One key area is tax parity between deposits and bond investments.
Now, talking of the budget of 2026, we expect some more rationalization into slabs, and it will be good if there are only 3 major slabs in terms of direct taxes. We also expect some kind of revision in TDS norms to make sure that businesses have more cash to run.
Recent union budgets underline a clear trend. India's tax policy is becoming simpler and more growth-oriented. Under the new tax regime, income of up to 12 lakh rupees is tax-free, rising to 12.75 lakhs for salary taxpayers with standard deduction. Compliance has improved with rationalized TDS and TCS norms, higher LRS thresholds, and decriminalization of minor delays. Custom duties have also been simplified by reducing tariff slabs. Overall, India's tax framework is steadily moving from complexity to simplicity, supporting growth and inclusive development.
Budget 2026 is about encouraging innovation and ensuring that taxation becomes a catalyst in the nation's journey towards a resilient and inclusive Bharat. With camera person Mukesh, this is Tripti Tripathi reporting for DD India from New Delhi.
And industry leaders also expressed diverse expectations from the upcoming budget. Group CEO of UK-India Business Council, Dr. Kishore Jayaraman, expressed hope that this year also a phenomenal budget will be presented.
As we get ready for the budget that is about to be released, it is very important for us to note that as we go forward, as we aspire to become the 3rd largest economy in the world, it's going to be about ease of doing business. It's going to be about non-complicated tax structures. It's going to be about corporate tax and building businesses. And all these have been points of consideration by the Indian government, and they have always tried to move it in the right direction. And we are very hopeful at UKIBC that this year will be another phenomenal budget to look forward to.
The inflation numbers are firmly in focus in the upcoming budget. Prices remain below the RBI's lower tolerance limits, offering some policy comfort, even as December data shows inflation edging up across both rural and urban India. With food prices still in deflation, but core pressures rising, the latest inflation trends now set the backdrop for the key budget expectations. Diptanshu Kashyap gets us more.
As the government prepares for Budget 2026, the latest inflation data suggests prices remain largely under control. Inflation stayed below the RBI's lower tolerance limit for the 4th consecutive month in December 2025, even as both headline and food inflation edged up from November due to selective price pressures. Headline CPI inflation stood at 1.33% year-on-year in December 2025, marking an increase of 62 basis points over November. Inflation remained below the RBI's lower tolerance limit for the fourth straight month. Food inflation remained in deflation for the seventh consecutive month at minus 2.71%. Rural food inflation stood at minus 3.08%, while urban food inflation was minus 2.09%, even as food prices rose compared to November. Rural headline inflation increased to 0.76% in December from 0.10% in November, while urban headline inflation rose to 2.03% from 1.40%. The increase in inflation was driven by higher prices in personal care and effects, vegetables, meat and fish, eggs, spices, pulses, and products. Housing inflation eased to 2.86%, education inflation moderated to 3.32%, health inflation to 3.43%, fuel and light inflation declined to 1.97%, and transport and communication inflation eased to 0.76%. With inflation remaining well below the RBI's tolerance band, the data provides the government and the central bank greater policy headroom ahead of Budget 2026. The focus is now expected to be on targeted fiscal measures to sustain growth while keeping prices stable, including steps to improve women's access to finance and expand the cooperative sector's contribution to the economy in line with the National Cooperative Policy 2025. Diptanshu Kashyap's report for DD India.
And agriculture remains the backbone of India's economy, supporting livelihoods across the country and driving rural demand. As expectations rise ahead of Union Budget 26-27, the focus is firmly on how the government plans to strengthen the farm sector through credit support, income security, sustainability, and market access.
Much hope and speculation also surrounds the measures that Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will announce for the agriculture sector in the fiscal year 2027 Union Budget. Agriculture contributes about 18.2% of India's GDP and employs nearly 50% of India's workforce. The Union Budget for 2025-26 recognized agriculture as a key growth engine for the economy and emphasized measures to promote productivity, seed innovation, and sustainable farming.
देसी कंपनियां जो बीज बनाती बीज उत्पादित करें क्योंकि प्राइवेट सेक्टर की भी जरूरत है और इनोवेशन और रिसर्च एक तरफ आईसीआर भी करता है, यूनिवर्सिटीज भी करती है, दूसरी तरफ प्राइवेट कंपनीज भी करती है, तो कोई अगर करे तो इनोवेशन का फायदा किसान को मिलना चाहिए.
The coming Union Budget for 2026-27 could see some of the following measures being adopted for the agricultural sector. According to experts, improving farmers' access to credit and finance would continue to be an ongoing priority. The budget could extend further support to farmers in the form of subsidized loans to support modern and sustainable farming practices. This could include expansion of the Kisan Credit Card (KCC) scheme to cover more farmers, especially small and marginal landholders. Special loans for farm machinery, irrigation and organic farming could also be announced in the budget. With the government's stress on the welfare of the farmer, income support for small and marginal farmers could be another focus point of the Union Budget this year. So the budget could include continuation and expansion of the PM Kisan scheme, providing 6,000 rupee plus annually to farmers. The minimum support price, MSP, for major crops has always been a key focus area of the Union Budget. So the Finance Minister is expected to announce an appreciable hike in MSP to ensure fair returns to the farmers. Important agricultural initiatives like the Prime Minister Dhan Dhanya Krishi Yojana, which focuses on 100 low productivity districts, and the Mission for Atmanirbharta and Pulses for promoting sustainable rural prosperity are also likely to receive the Finance Minister's attention. As always, there are also expectations on the subsidy front. Experts believe the budget could provide direct subsidies for fertilizers and seeds to help small farmers, and also subsidies for drip irrigation and solar pumps to promote sustainable agriculture and water conservation. Subsidies could also be extended for cold storage and warehousing facilities to reduce post-harvest losses. The finance minister may continue with the recent emphasis on the digital transformation of agriculture in order to provide farmers better access to their markets. Finally, the union budget may encourage soil health improvement programs for increasing productivity, besides promoting use of eco-friendly fertilizers and biopesticides. As the union budget approaches, all eyes remain on how these measures could shape the future of Indian agriculture. Tanvi Dhaneja for DD India.
As India advances towards its vision of developed nation, the Union Budget 2026 is poised to sustain and strengthen investments in education and healthcare, the bedrock of human capital, inclusive growth, long-term national prosperity. Antra Sinha gets us more in this report.
The Government of India's upcoming Union Budget 2026-27, scheduled to be presented by Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman on 1st February 2026, is poised to sustain and potentially amplify investments in education and healthcare, core pillars of human capital development, inclusive progress, and the long-term vision of a Viksit Bharat. In education, the momentum from the Union Budget 2025-26, where the Ministry of Education secured a historic allocation, sets a strong foundation. The Department of School Education and Literacy received its highest ever allocation to advance universal access and quality. Expectations center on continued emphasis on the National Education Policy 2020 through the expansion of initiatives such as Atal Tinkering Labs in government schools over the medium term to nurture innovation and STEM proficiency, accelerating the extension of broadband connectivity to government secondary schools and primary health centers through an expanded BharatNet rollout for enhanced digital access. Rollout of the Bharatiya Bhasha Pustak scheme to deliver digital textbooks in Indian languages for school and higher education, and strengthening the scope and funding of the Center of Excellence in Artificial Intelligence for Education. Further anticipated priorities include capacity augmentation across IITs and the creation of multiple national centers of excellence for skilling aligned with global partnerships and enhanced support for research fellowships and the preservation of Indian knowledge systems aimed at equipping youth for a dynamic, technology-led economy. In healthcare, building on the Union Budget 2025-26 allocation to the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, the focus is expected to intensify toward the National Health Policy target of elevating public health spending. Key schemes likely to see sustained momentum include the National Health Mission for bolstering primary and secondary care, expanding Ayushman Bharat Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, and accelerating medical education with additions toward the 5-year goal of 75,000 seats. Complementary efforts under Pradhan Mantri Ayushman Bharat Health Infrastructure Mission are anticipated to advance critical care infrastructure, Ayushman Arogya Mandir Health and Wellness Centers, disease surveillance, rural-urban facility upgrades, daycare cancer centers in district hospitals, broadband connectivity to primary health centers, and preventive digital health integration to minimize out-of-pocket expenses and broaden equitable access.
The government continues to place education and healthcare at the very heart of its very vision of a developed India. These critical sectors remain central to empowering each and every citizen from every walk of life. With a decisive investment in its people, the budget aims to secure quality education, accessible healthcare, and inclusive prosperity, paving a clearer path to a Viksit Bharat. With camera person Vinay Kumar Tiwari, this is Antra Sinha for DD India.
In business news, US President Donald Trump nominated former Federal Reserve Governor Kevin Warsh to be the next US Central Bank chief, a move that has sparked cautious optimism among observers. Trump considered Warsh for the top Fed job too as well during the first presidency, but eventually chose Powell, a decision he quickly soured on. Warsh was the youngest person to serve as a Fed governor, a role he held from 2006 to 2011. The next step in the process is confirmation by closely divided Senate. The Fed has long been seen as a stabilizing force in global financial markets. due in no small part to its perceived independence from politics, and Trump's escalating efforts to test that independence will be a key issue through the approval process. You're watching DD India News Hour. Time now for all the action from sports. India will take on New Zealand in the 5th and final T20 International in Thiruvananthapuram on Saturday. The hosts have taken an unassailable 3-1 lead in the 5-match series, but their biggest concerns have been spin bowling department and out-of-form wicketkeeper batter Sanju Samson. Spinners have together taken 11 wickets across 4 matches, while Samson has scored just 40. The Indian side would be keen to rectify the lacunas before the T20 World Cup early next month. Meanwhile, New Zealand will enter the match with high on confidence after their comprehensive win in the previous encounter. They would be eager to defeat India again. Both sides also get an opportunity to experiment with the squad ahead of the big tournament, figuring out their best playing 11. Two of the biggest hitters in women's tennis are set for blockbuster showdown as Aryna Sabalenka and Elena Rybakina face off in the Australian Open finals today. It's a familiar rivalry as they meet for the 15th time in their career, which includes a dramatic 2023 Australian Open final. With immense stakes on the line, the women's singles final of the first Grand Slam of the year promises high-quality tennis.
It is a familiar rivalry at the biggest stage. World number 1 Aryna Sabalenka and world number 5 Elena Rybakina will meet for the 15th time in their careers. Rybakina arrives in Melbourne in red-hot form. She is 8-1 in 2026 and has won 19 of her last 20 matches overall. She has not dropped a single set at this year's Australian Open, negotiating a tough draw that included wins over world number 2 Iga Swiatek and Jessica Pegula. Rybakina will play her third Grand Slam final, having previously won Wimbledon in 2022. Meanwhile, Sabalenka has been equally dominant in terms of results. The top seed has not dropped a set on her way to the final, though she was tested in tie-breaks by Anastasia and Victoria. The Belarusian is into her 4th consecutive Australian Open final, a feat achieved by only Yvonne Goolagong and Martina Hingis in the Open era. Sabalenka has the best winning percentage among active players in hard-court majors. Sabalenka leads the overall head-to-head 8-6, however, Rybakina holds a slight 6-5 edge over Sabalenka on hard courts. The momentum in recent times belong to Rybakina, who has won 6 of their last 10 encounters, including the 2025 WTA Finals title match. Sabalenka is chasing her 3rd Australian Open title in 4 years and her 5th Grand Slam crown overall, all of which have come on hard courts. Rybakina, on the other hand, comes in as a dangerous underdog, riding immense momentum and a 9-match winning streak against top 10 players. Fans can expect a thunderous battle for the women's singles crown, which will be defined by power and precision. Sports Desk, DD India.
Belgium's Elsie Mertens and her Chinese partner Zhang Shuai clinched their first Grand Slam women's doubles title as a team at the Australian Open today. They downed Anna Dalina and Alexandra Krunic in Melbourne. The 4th seeds were too good for the 7th-seeded Kazakh and Serbian pair, winning 7-6, 6-4. Currently ranked 6th, Mertens will reclaim the women's doubles world number 1 ranking with the victory. It was a 3rd Australian Open doubles crown for the experienced Belgian, who won in 2021 alongside Aryna Sabalenka and again in 2024, playing with Taiwan's Heisei Shuwei. Zhang won the tournament with Australian Samantha Stosur in 2019. 24-time Grand Slam champion Novak Djokovic is back in a Grand Slam final after beating Jannik Sinner in the Australian Open 2026 semi-final on Friday. Djokovic edged past the Italian in a 5-set thriller at his favourite Rod Laver Arena in Melbourne. This is the first win for Djokovic over two-time defending champion Jannik Sinner after losing 5 consecutive matches against him. Sitting at 24 Grand Slam titles, Djokovic would now aim for winning his record-breaking 25th Grand Slam title and 11th Australian Open title on Sunday against Carlos Alcaraz. He is now the oldest player to enter the Australian men's singles final in Open-era history, while Alcaraz is the youngest to reach all Grand Slam finals in the same time period. Table toppers Arsenal are desperate to prevent a Premier League wobble as they face Leeds United on Saturday. They are still 4 points clear at the top of the table, but have picked up just 2 points from their last 3 games. Arsenal's stumble in the title race has given the chasing pack hope. The league leaders suffered their first home defeat of the season against Manchester United last week after draws against Liverpool and Nottingham Forest. Former United captain Roy Keane believes the Gunners are feeling the pressure as they chase the first Premier League title since 2004. Following 3 successive runners-up finishes, Arsenal have overwhelming chance of winning the match, but if results go against them this weekend, their lead could be cut to a single point. The snow festival in Turkey's eastern Black Sea region of Artvin province delighted visitors with skiing, torches and traditional dances. The event celebrated winter, culture, sports, creating colourful and unforgettable moments for all. Families and tourists enjoyed a joyful blend of nature, entertainment and local traditions. Here's how. That's all in this edition of DD India News Hour. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. This app is available on both Android and iOS. Scan this QR code on the screen and download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.